Kevin's breaking things and just now
Surprise,
coming in.
bitches.
Yeah, what'd you think it was going to be Jimmy? Now that would have been a surprise.
It would have been. Follow us on Twitter at Kevin White Uncut and at Uncut Sports Show.
Yeah,
Done
why
with
not?
that. No more whoring ourselves out. By the way, click right here to see my latest video about what happened to me in Starbucks. Okay, now I'm done.
Wow.
Shout outs. Our boy, the Mexicutioner, wanted us to give a shout out to St. John's High School in Michigan. This wrestling team, 3-time Division II Michigan State Wrestling Champions. These motherfuckers are off the hook. Now, UFC 144.
Is that midget wrestling?
Excuse me?
Is that midget wrestling?
Not midget wrestling, no.
Oh.
He didn't say anything about that in the shout out. Nothing about midget wrestling.
That I'd like to see.
I would love to see that shit.
Now,
Yes.
yeah, UFC 144. In Japan, expected. I didn't know what really to expect.
Right.
But I like the card, top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, right to left.
I think there might have been. There were 7 cards. There were 7 fights on the main event, and I think maybe one of them might have been a sleeper. Maybe one.
Three went to the decision. So, I mean,
let's start out with Anthony Pettis versus Joe Lauzon. I mean, that shit.
That didn't take long.
It didn't take long, man. I mean, fucking Pettis defeated Lauzon with a knockout, basically in 20 seconds.
And for you people who haven't followed Pettis and you didn't watch him in the WEC, that's what you were missing, because that's exactly what he did in the WEC. Ask Ben Henderson.
Yeah, and we had talked about that. It's like, you know what? Pettis had been on that 2-fight skid. I mean, and it's like he didn't look too sharp, but tonight he looked like the Anthony Pettis of old.
He looked
sharp.
crisp.
And
now, I don't know what 2-fight losing streak he's talking about. I hope you meant 2-fight winning streak, because he only lost one to Clay Guida.
Yeah, he lost to Clay Guida, and then he had 2. What means skid me, his performances weren't too impressive.
Okay,
you know
sorry,
what I mean?
I'm ripping
Because
you
he was
apart
just
before
so
they do.
Yeah, he was just so dominant in the WEC, and he was fighting like he fought tonight. And then after he had his loss to Guida, he kind of just. Nothing was super impressive.
He kind of went through the motions when he defeated Jeremy Stevens, and now he's beat Joe. How do you say his last name? Because
Joe
Lozon, whatever.
Lozon, right. So he beat Jeremy Stevens, who everybody I think expected him just to run.
Now,
it was,
if you're making matches, what do you do with Pettis?
I mean, Pettis.
Two names jump immediately. Bam, bam.
I
right in
think
my
he
head.
should fight Maynard.
Exactly. I was going to say either Gray Maynard or Frankie Edgar.
I would love to see Pettis. Yeah.
That's who I'd have him fight. And if he dispatches of those, then he fights Ben Henderson.
Yeah.
And this time for the belt.
Yeah.
Oh, did I spoil that for anyone?
Well, you know
My
what's
bad.
funny? You know what's funny? It could be great if Pettis did fight Frankie Edgar, because then the winner would get to fight Ben Henderson.
Right. But I think Ben Henderson should have another fight. I mean,
Yeah,
people
he
are
could fight Maynard.
We'll get to that later.
There's so many things. The lightweight is
Fight
so crazy.
Maynard. Why?
not? I don't know. Maynard's tough.
Boo!
The
So was
lightweight-
Frankie Edgar.
I know. The whole fucking division is tough.
But Frankie Edgar finished Gray Maynard.
But it's but I mean, you saw the 2 previous fights. I mean, they were tough.
Ben Henderson will kill Gray Maynard.
I mean, yeah. But styles make fights, and it's what we said about. We'll get to that point. But anyway, moving on to the featherweight bout. Hatsu Hioki fought Bart. I'm not going to.
Great haircut, by the way, Bart. That was really
It was
good.
awesome. It was kind of like a mo. I don't know how you had your boy hook that shit up, but Bart, that shit was tight. That was captivating.
Yeah,
tonight.
that one went to the
haircut-
decision. Hioki ended up winning. I had it. It didn't. It wasn't even close, in my opinion. But now,
Hioki was impressive.
on to the middleweight bout, and I don't know. Did anyone else think Joe Rogan was really just out of his mind tonight?
Well, I think Joe, what he was doing, I was saying, man, I said, Rogan's got a lot of shit going on right now. He's in movies, he's fucking got Fear Factor, he does stand-up comedy, which I know is his passion, and he's still doing UFC, and I know that motherfucker's got to be like, God damn, I'm burned the fuck out. You know what I mean? But he was just, when a fight got 15 or 20 seconds sitting around, he's like, oh, this guy looks really impressive, and I'm like, you're basing that on 20 seconds watching this motherfucker? But it was funny.
And that's what he said about Okami. Okami, he said in the first, 50 seconds of the Okami fight, he's like, Okami looks great. It's the best he's ever looked.
And when I saw the fight, the first 50 seconds, what I was impressed with was his hair, his tan, and his physique.
I think you're talking about Akiyama.
Wrong guy. I'm really fucked up.
We're back.
Excuse that because it's very late.
We're on Akiyama, who ended up losing to Tim Boach after being up the first 2 rounds.
Right.
And Tim Boach grabbed him by the back of his neck and said that he hit him like with an uppercut like this.
He did.
It was like a Scrooge sidewinder. Tim Boetsch,
Yushin Okami dominated the first couple rounds.
oh my God.
Yeah.
I thought the fight was going to be over in the first round.
And that brings us back to Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan went out and said that's what the greatest comeback in UFC history.
Right.
And then he took it back.
Right, and then he realized,
But-
wow, let me take a step back. Anyway, what happened is Okami dominated the first round, dominated the second round, thought it was going to be great, and then Tim Boetsch just went for broke.
Yeah, Bosch just basically just said, "Fuck it." You know what? And he said it at the end of the event. He said basically, I'm trained to fight like this, and I get put in these situations. And he said, Okami was taking advantage of me and dominating me for 2 rounds, but I'm trained to fight 3 rounds, and that's what he did.
3 straight straight wins at middleweight.
Yeah, he
So-
fought like Kobe, and Okami fought like LeBron. I'm just saying, one of them finishes, one doesn't. Anyway. My basketball analogies. Moving on to the guy I was talking about earlier. Tan, hair, good physique.
Sexy Yama.
Sexy Yama was definitely proving that he was Sexy Yama. Debuting at welterweight.
And he left his offense at another weight category because he had zippy offense, had outstanding defense, and Jake Shields looks like a little boy who just got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah,
he's like...
Jake Shields was, and the thing is, Jake Shields won his fight because he was he just was aggressive.
And look, I've been harsh on some people striking in MMA, Forrest Griffin, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not sure Jake Shields could knock out a pane of glass.
He did last week, actually.
He has some of the
Home Depot
weakest
replaced it.
looking kicks and punches I have ever seen on an adult male.
Yeah, I think it's not that his punches are so. I think it's just his style is a little unorthodox. Now it's not as unorthodox as somebody else we saw. Who was the guy we saw earlier? He was on the undercard. Oh,
I didn't watch any undercard fights. I'm not an undercard fight watcher. Takanori Gomi?
Yes, he is. The way that guy fights, he's down here and stuff like this. But he did what he was losing the first round.
Gomi won via TKO, so I'm gonna tell you right there, he hits harder than Jake Shields.
Oh, he hits hard as shit.
My mom hits harder than Jake Shields.
Oh, he hits hard as shit. I'm not
Right.
saying, but his style's unorthodox. Now, let's move on.
Well, Jake Shields finally wins a fight at welterweight, so I don't know what. To me, Akiyama might be out of a job.
Well, he's dropped 4 straight.
Yeah.
So it's, and even though I think the one reason he had a job and why Dana White kept him on is because 2 of those losses he had were fight of the nights. The guy comes to fight, but the thing is, this time he lost and he didn't look like he came to fight. He did come to fight, but it just wasn't impressive. His loss wasn't. He looked like he lost. Yeah.
Tonight was not a good showing
No.
for Akiyama. Now,
This was fucking exciting.
Mark Hunt versus Chich.
Mark Hunt,
Congo.
who we've clarified is Mike's brother.
Okay.
And everybody on our message boards, you can visit us at facebook.com, Uncut Sports Show, and you can join our
you'll
Facebook
get
fan
it.
club, and you'll get a kick out of it, because if you had joined it and you saw some of the posts we had, they were fucking hilarious about Mark Hunt's brother, Mike.
Yeah.
Mark Hunt met Czech Congo, and you know what? I'm going to tell you what. I was constantly talking shit. Mark Hunt's going to get his ass kicked. He's out of shape. He hasn't won this fight. I just was blah, 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 blah. And damn if that motherfucker. And you know what? I wanted to see him beat Czech Congo. I did, but I just did not think it was going to happen. And one of the reasons I think George and I both wanted to, not that we dislike Czech Congo, we think he's a great fighter, but we just really thought.
We think no. I don't think Czech Congo's a great fighter.
Well, I think he's a great fighter. I think anybody at that level is a great fighter.
Well, okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
Amongst his peers, he's not a great fighter.
No, he's not a standout in the heavyweight class, definitely. But I think we both, when he fought Pat Barry, we felt like, he did pull off the win. He did pull off the victory, but we just felt like, wow.
Yeah, he should have got an assist from the cage that kept him from fucking sliding down that slippery slope into the 3rd fucking row. And I'm glad Mark Hunt whipped your ass. I don't care.
Right, but we just thought, man, this would be great, because we felt like he weaseled his way out of that, and
he didn't. Dude, the referee saved you from a serious ass whooping on the mat.
Yeah.
because Mark Hunt hits hard. If none of you guys have ever watched Mark Hunt, go look at his highlight film.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in some wars in Pride. And Pride was open weight. He's fought Vanderlei. He's fought Fedor. I mean, he's fought them all.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what. No, here's an interesting stat that was thrown at me. And I just kind of, when I read it, I was like, shit.
Yeah, this guy tweeted you this, right?
No, it was text message.
Same thing.
Yeah, no difference. I don't respond to tweets. I respond to text.
Right.
Fedor goes to Strikeforce and goes 1-3.
Yep.
Mark Hunt goes to the UFC and goes 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
Now y'all think about that. Just for all you Fedor fans, just hold on to that little nugget. Boy, try to sleep that. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, you're not going to convince him.
Now,
so what's next for Mark Hunt?
Who cares?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not knocking you, dude.
Why don't you guys, huh?
He's gonna have a job. I mean, they're just gonna, unless if he rattles off 2 more wins. I mean, then maybe we could start thinking about a heavyweight title fight. But I mean, I don't think he can beat Overeem. Yeah. I don't think he can beat JD. Fight Cain Velasquez. Fight Shane Carwin.
Right.
I mean, fight Frank Mir. But I think Cain Velasquez and Mir are fighting next.
Yeah.
So if and when Shane Carwin decides to fight again, let him fight Shane Carwin.
Yeah, it's funny how these people have jobs, and you look at people who have put on exciting fights, and that's the reason they have their jobs in the UFC. I tell you what, though, one person I've been a huge fan of, and it was the next fight.
Well, hold on real quick. Just one thing that I know I didn't get to tell you, but Mark Hunt, just to give you an idea of his mindset, he sat there and said, I'll be ready to fight on Friday. Because they have an FX event. He's like, he went into this fight with Congo, goes, I'm a fighter. This is what I do. He's like, I'll be ready to fight on Friday. He's like, if it wasn't for these 60-day medical suspensions, I'd be fighting Friday.
Yeah, he just
that's the difference between a guy like
old school.
Yeah, now they're not like that anymore.
No, because those motherfuckers at one point were fighting,
2-3 times in a night.
Yeah, so they're used to. They said, "Fuck, we got a 5-day gap. I can handle that."
Yeah.
Now. Rampage Jackson, there was a bunch of rumors floating around. Obviously, he weighed in at 211, and that made it become a catchweight fight with his bout with Ryan Bader.
20% of his purse.
20%.
And I looked at Kevin and I said, I'd venture to say that 20% of Rampage's purse is more than Bader's show-up salary.
No, it could be.
I would guess.
It could be, but especially the fact that the event was in Japan and he's just loved in Japan.
Yes.
But I think most of those guys were probably disappointed because the thing is, and you know what, we looked at what Rampage Jackson has done as a late. Obviously, he had his loss to John Jones, but he beat Machida in a very close decision. He beat Hamill. He beat.
That Hamill fight was gross, though.
Yeah, that was terrible. He beat. Who else did he beat prior to that? I think he had 4 wins. He had the loss to Evans.
Well, if we want to roll it back, he beat. I mean, you could go back to 07, but let's keep it a little more relevant. In 08, he beat Vanderlei. 09, he beats Jardine. He loses to Evans. Then he beats Machida. Then he beats Hamill. And then he loses to John Jones.
Right. So it was he won 4 of his last 5. I mean, and 4 out of his last 6. But
this is the first time Quinton Rampage Jackson has had back-to-back losses in his career.
Yeah, and the thing is and this is the thing. It's like Rampage Jackson has always been an exciting fighter, but as of late, he's not really that exciting, and it's because he is one-dimensional. So you see him knock people out. He hasn't done that. He didn't finish Hamill and stuff, and so you're sitting back, and people are just sitting back, and they're methodically dissecting him, and they're beating him. And I thought for sure that if there was somebody that he would easily probably be able to knock out, I thought it would be Ryan Bader. I thought his stand-up was so much more dominant. It would be more dominant than Ryan Bader. And you know what? Ryan Bader tagged him and did what he had to do, and it took him to the ground and ground and pounded him. And
I think if you look at Quinton Rampage Jackson tonight, you can see there's obviously Quinton said there was an injury that kept him from doing the proper cardio to make this weight cut, and you could see if you know anything about throwing a punch, all your power comes from your hips and really getting your body into it. And if you watch Rampage, he had no pivot. Yeah. His feet were flat when he was throwing a punch. He wasn't up on the ball of his feet, turning his body into it. To me, that right there says there's something wrong with this guy's wheels.
Something was wrong with it, and he couldn't get out. Once he's in the ground, he couldn't work his way to the cage and get out of it. I mean, he was struggling.
So for me, and this is not, I don't dislike the guy. I like him a lot. He's, like Kevin said, he's highly entertaining. He's got some great highlight fights. You either, in my opinion, you have 2 options. You either give up fighting or get your knees fixed. Yeah. Whatever's wrong, preventing you from cutting weight, has been bothering you for a while.
To me, what's wrong is, man, I swear, as soon as he parted ways with his old man, it was almost like the whole Tyson thing. Once you that original camp that you had so much success with, and then everything kind of imploded, and then you went one way, he went one way. It's like everything to me. He's had victories, but they just haven't been impressive.
And look, I'm not knocking the Wolf Slayer. I'm not knocking anyone's camp, but there's just, who do you train with?
Yeah.
No offense, but I mean, they're just the guys you need to train with in your weight class at your skill level or your once was skill level aren't in that camp. No one's coming to the UK to train with you, dude. Like, if you need to get to Coconut Creek, Florida, you need to get out to Mexico, you need to get out there to, New Mexico, you need to get out there to California.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but if you want to continue to be a fighter, you need to move on from the Wolf Slayer. Bisping's left. That should say enough.
Yeah.
And that's a homegrown dude. I bet Bisping's relocating to the U.S. because he realizes.
Well, he's got to go with. You got to be around the competition. You got to be around. You got to have new training techniques. You got to be around guys that are coming up, guys that are hungry, because it's contagious. Yeah. And if you're training alone, or if you're training and you're not around a bunch of people that are hungry, then it's
And just go get your knees fixed, dude.
Yeah.
Like what's this do for Ryan Bader? It saves his job for one.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Bader, the unfortunate thing about Ryan Bader, I mean, maybe somebody, this is the thing. If you take Ryan Bader.
Machida.
If you take the loss, who did he lose to?
He lost to John Jones embarrassingly. He lost to Tito Ortiz. He's on a 2-fight win streak, beating Brills and Quinton Jackson.
I knew he lost John Jones, but the other one was Tito Ortiz. That, if you take away that loss, because that loss was just, I think everybody's like, holy shit, shocked. Because that loss, everybody said Tito is back, and then obviously Tito was not back. But everybody assumed that because it was not so much Tito, having a good night, was that Bader had a bad night.
Right. He caught him and jumped in and sunk in a choke. I mean, but I wouldn't say this thrusts him back toward the top. I would fight Machida.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a good fight for him. You know what I mean? But I think, second to the lightweight class, the light heavyweight class is stacked.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of fucking good guys in there. So there's a lot of people he can face. And he has to go through so many opponents to even think about getting a title shot in that class.
That was the end of the card, right?
No. Oh, that's what one of our buddies did. George is imitating our buddy David, who was here, that literally was so fucking exhausted and tired that he got up, packed up everything like he was getting ready to roll out. And we're like, motherfucker, what are you doing? And he's like,
that's the end of the card.
End of the card. And we're like,
no, sir.
Have you lost your mind, Frankie Edgar and Ben Henderson? He goes, oh my God, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah. It's a whopping 11 o'clock in LA. Yeah. That's just wrong. You guys are getting ready to go out. We're getting ready to go to bed.
Yeah. Now, this fight was interesting. It turned out just the way we said it. And I think a lot of people, a couple people jumped on me and go, "Oh, Kevin, I'm like, it wasn't that, because I like Frankie Edgar.
Oh, yes,
I'm a huge Frankie Edgar fan. But I just said, you know what, man, Ben Henderson is
like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
he's got way too many damn options.
And he's big and he's athletic. And I thought that was going to be
Pootie Tang. He wappa-tied the Bammies tonight, boy.
He did.
Sadate.
And I think the changing point is when he did that up kick at the end of the second round.
Broke his damn nose.
Yeah. That was it, man. I mean, that was it. He is just I don't know how he gets down to fucking 155.
It was funny because Rogan asked him, how much weight exactly do you cut?
He wouldn't say it.
No, I'm guessing he's up in that 170 to 175. You're thinking he's even heavier than that.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Henderson walks around 180.
Because he says he has to cut for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So if you do 2 pounds a week, that's 16 pounds. So what's that put him at 160?
Well, he's saying 2 pounds a week, but
no, I'm just guessing something. I'm thinking what would be reasonable.
He's probably 63, 62 2 days before the event. Before he has to weigh in.
Because he says he has to take those last 2 days before weigh-in, he says, are brutal.
He's killing himself to make weight, and then he can eat up once he weighs in. But, I mean, it's...
he looks so much bigger than Frankie Edgar.
So much bigger.
It was not even funny.
And it's funny because Frankie Edgar's had a reach advantage, which didn't seem so. That didn't seem too apparent.
No. And then the one thing that I didn't realize, Frankie Edgar basically walks around at $155.
Yeah.
He didn't suck weight. So, of course, they asked him at the end of the fight, you going to suck down the 145? Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, I would watch one highlight film of Jose Aldo and be like, nah,
yeah, I'm
good.
Yeah, because he's a quick fucking guy, man. This 155 division, man, it's funny because, like I was saying earlier, when we said something, you and I both picked Henderson to win. A lot of people were kind of like, oh, what are you guys talking about? It wasn't that we were sleeping on Frankie Edgar because we know he's a great fighter.
Exactly.
And you know what? Edgar could probably be somebody that might give Henderson problems. It's just... that particular matchup, I just could not see Frankie Edgar winning just because of the size and how athletic Ben Henderson was. And it proved that tonight. I mean, he had so many things He had an answer for everything that Frankie Edgar.
Yeah, and I don't think Frankie Edgar ever hurt Ben Henderson or made Ben Henderson go.
No. I mean, he hit some solid shots. He hit him with shots that were pretty close to what he hit Maynard with, and Henderson was like, yeah, okay. That one shot in the 4th round, he kind of laid, or it was either 5th round, he laid him on his ass, and, you know, he kind of shook it off really quick. But, I mean, other than those were shots that were fucking hurting Maynard. Dude, he's a big guy, and it takes a lot more to hurt a big guy.
To me, the sky's the limit for Ben Henderson. I made a comment where Frankie Edgar doesn't win this, he's going to become irrelevant or become this. He's going to become the John Fitch of 155, and I don't even know if he's going to get that title.
I
don't know if he can beat Pettis.
You know what I can see happening with Frankie Edgar right now? He's a great fighter.
Cutting to 135?
He could do that, but if he stays in the lightweight division, I can see happening to him exactly what happened to Rashad Evans when he got his loss in the 205s. He's a great fighter, but all of a sudden he got caught up in the mix, and all these guys were coming up, and you see him it was 2 years ago, and now he's just getting back to getting a title shot. You know,
my advice, if you can, suck some weight, get down to 135.
I'd like to see him at 145. I'd like to see Frankie Edgar.
I'm skipping that class. I'm skipping 145, going right to 135. I'll go right down there with Ben Henderson. With Uriah Faber and Dominic Cruz.
Yeah,
I think he stands a better shot at beating one of those guys than he does the champ at 145. That's just me.
Jose Aldo. I will say this about Frank Edgar. If he did make, and a lot of people are saying that it could possibly, that might be in his future 145. Him and Jose Aldo. Or Jose Aldo, whatever you want to call him, that could be a good fight. I think if he grabs him, now you're looking at a guy that's pretty big. He's fought guys that are much bigger than Aldo, Aldo is incredible. He's one of the best pound for pound guys out there. But you know what? We did see Aldo get in trouble with his first UFC event. And he hasn't been as dominant in his last couple fights.
His last fight was pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, I mean, but
here, to me, if I have the ability to throw leg kicks, and Jose obviously throws some of the best leg kicks with lighting Uriah Faber up, the way I'm attacking Frankie Edgar is I'm just going to kick him in the legs because I'm going to slow him down. Frankie Edgar's thing is predicated on speed and getting in and getting out.
Right.
That's what he does. And if you take his legs away, I don't think he can do much else.
He looks tall when he's fighting guys 5'8". Now he's fighting a guy that's maybe a couple inches shorter. But put it this way, what would you do if you saw Frankie Edgar versus Uriah Faber? What would you think would happen?
Probably put my money on Frankie Edgar, but my thing is if Frankie Edgar comes in against Uriah Faber's fought at 155. Uriah Faber was strong at 155. There's another guy who relies on his quickness. And I think Uriah Faber's quicker than Frankie Edgar. So if Uriah Faber can get in 1-2 and get out, he'll be fine. But even if Frankie Edgar took him down, I don't know what he'd do because I think Uriah could probably out-wrestle him. I'm not sold on Frankie Edgar. He's just a really tough guy.
Right.
I'm not sold on his skill level.
I am.
Okay.
I mean, you look at the people he's beat. He's beat everybody. All these guys he's beat that were undefeated. All these guys, Gray Maynard twice. He's just, and even tonight, Henderson beat him, but he was in the fight. Like he just is. It's beyond hard. I mean, his skill set gets him the win. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can have all the heart in the world, but you've got to have some skill to back it up. And it's like, I look at the people that Frankie Edgar has beat, and I say, you put Jose Aldo against all those people, he's going to have some problems with some of those guys. BJ Penn, you know what I'm saying? Gray Maynard. I think those guys could give, Aldo some trouble. I'm looking at the people that Frankie Edgar has gone through. He's gone through some very notable people.
Well, BJ Penn and Gray Maynard, and I'll wait for you to name another one.
BJ Penn, Gray Maynard. Who was the guy he fought?
Matt Veach.
No, not Matt Veach. It was
Sean Shirk?
Well, Sean Shirk was a little bit old.
Hermes Franco.
No, it was somebody before that.
Spencer Fisher.
Nope.
Tyson Griffin?
Tyson Griffin.
Okay, that was back in 07.
Yeah, when Tyson Griffin was good. You know what I'm saying? When Tyson Griffin was good. I mean, now Tyson Griffin's more on a skid, but he was good. You got to take people, when they were decent, when they're fighting them. He's younger. He's fighting a Tyson Griffin. Yeah.
I'm just you.
I mean, dude, you're dismissing his accomplishments. I mean, that's
I'm not dismissing his accomplishments. I'm
how
not
can you
giving
say a
him
guy
much
that
credit.
George? How can you say a guy that held the title and won that many fights?
Okay, and see right there that argument, because
Right.
I've heard that before. He held the title for 2 years. He fought 2 people in 2 years. The same fighter. He's a bad matchup for BJ Penn, who's old and slow.
He beat 5 people that were undefeated at one point. When he fought them, they were undefeated, and he gave them their first defeat. You can't say Frankie Edgar doesn't have skill. That's not even an argument.
I'm comparing his skill level to Jose Aldo. I don't think he
Well,
has.
Jose Aldo has more weapons, but you got to say Frankie Edgar hands are great. Frankie Edgar's hands are probably better than Jose Aldo. All around, does Aldo have more weapons? Yeah, absolutely. But you can't sit there and say Frankie Edgar doesn't have a skill set because of that. I mean, his skill set is not that good. I don't see how anybody can be a champion in any weight class and not have a good skill, have an impressive skill set. You know what I mean?
When you beat Gray Maynard, I mean, I'm not sold on Gray Maynard and the BJ Penn.
Look at Gray Maynard's record.
I did.
Who did he beat? Nobody?
No.
What about BJ Penn? Nobody?
BJ? Are we really going to get into BJ Penn? Is going that Chuck Liddell, Tito
How many
Ortiz
times
route.
did Frankie Edgar beat BJ Penn?
I don't think did he ever fight BJ Penn? Oh, Frankie Edgar twice.
Right, he beat him twice.
Yeah, and it's a bad matchup. It's the same thing like Uriah Faber, Mike Brown. Are we going to talk about Mike Brown?
But sometime you have to look at a man with Frankie Edgar has accomplished and saying, "Oh no, he's skilled. He beat BJ Penn.
I'm not,
BJ
okay,
Penn has fought."
I didn't say he's not skilled. I said his skill set is not good as Jose Aldo's. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he as skilled as the guys he has left to fight.
Right. I mean, I just disagree. I just think
I don't put it this way. All right, here, I'll ask you this question: does he have a chance to hold the belt again at 155?
Yeah.
Who's he going to beat?
He
cannot beat Ben Henderson.
Are you going to let me answer the question, George?
But
George, you're going to let me answer the question. Look, if say for example, Pettis beats Henderson in a rematch, okay? Now, suppose he can beat Pettis. It's styles make fights, George. So he can easily maybe hold the belt again. It doesn't matter. Now, if you said, "Oh, is he going to go back in there and beat Henderson?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't think that's going to happen." But if Pettis fights Henderson and beats Henderson, and all of a sudden Pettis fights Edgar, suppose all of a sudden something happens with Maynard getting back in there, and then he has to fight Maynard again. I mean, you just don't know, you know. I'm telling you. What do you guys think? Let us know what the fuck you think on this.
Somebody tell me what's going to happen to Frankie Edgar. That's all I want to know.
What's going to happen to him?
What's going to happen to Frankie Edgar? Me, I think he's cutting a 135.
135?
That's what I've said. You keep hearing when I say cut the 135.
I mean, I thought you were joking.
No, I'm not. I'm not at all. The dude. Okay, if Ben Henderson can cut from 180, if Uriah Faber can cut from 155, I bet. I would be willing to bet.
Oh, he
Frankie
can make.
Edgar
No,
could
I
cut
agree
the
with you.
135.
He can make 135.
And I'm telling you right now, in my opinion, Frankie Edgar stands a better shot against Uriah Faber and Dominic Cruz, where he's going to be substantially larger.
So you just say you would just have to say that
he can try again at 155, and I'm fine. And honestly, I'd like to see him fight Pettis, but I'm going to tell you what: if he gets dispatched by Pettis, then it's time to either you're going to stay at 155 and you're going to be a gatekeeper, or be an also-ran.
Well, I mean, you could get dispatched. Maybe Pettis. Who knows what will happen when he fights Pettis? But even I don't see why he would. I mean, I know Aldo is awesome at 145. I'm not discrediting Aldo because he's an incredible fighter. He's one of the best pound-for-pound fighters out there. But I still wouldn't skip over 145 and go straight from 155 to 135.
Why not be huge? But no.
He's not going to be huge.
But no. Here's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Okay, if I'm presenting this to you,
okay.
if you're at 155 and you know you can cut the 135, why wouldn't you?
Because I mean,
now it's your opportunity to be the bigger, stronger guy fighting smaller guys.
Yeah, but when you cut weight, you lose a lot of strength, man. And sometimes it hurts you. Look at Dan Henderson. He could cut down to welterweight, but he sucks at it. Seriously.
He does? He won the Pride tournament at that weight.
He got beat by Jake Schultz at that weight.
Okay. A lot of people said that fight could be stopped.
I mean, when he cuts, he's better. What do we see?
A lot of guys are better when they don't have to cut weight. But I'm saying if it's possible that you could cut the weight, why not cut the weight? But here's the other thing. If he cuts to 145, how long is Jose Aldo going to stay at 145? They're already talking about him going up to 155.
I don't know. I would take some shots at 145 at first, and then I'd make the stop before I went all the way down to 135. I'd take some fights at least, you know. I mean, I would. I mean,
I wish nothing but the best for Frankie Edgar.
Because it's a business. First of all, you get a fight at 145. You got to think See, you're thinking like George Bedford. You're thinking, man,
I want to win.
I'm right, but
Fuck
he's
that.
thinking, I want to win and I want to get paid because this is how they make a living, George.
But here's the problem. And to be honest, when you start looking at the smaller weight classes, that's a harder draw. We're just now starting to see those guys be headliners. Uriah Faber's one of the first. Right. And now that dude's shit. I think he's fighting next week at 85
this is
pounds.
Exactly what I'm saying. Let me tell you something. You skip over the 145 class to go right from 155 to 135. You haven't given your chance yourself to be proven at 145, and you take an opportunity to miss a blockbuster payday with Aldo. You'd be crazy.
But do you offer that fight to Frankie Edgar?
Oh, did they offer it to Kenny Florian right away?
No, I'm just asking. I mean, think so?
Yeah, because Dana White is about money, dude.
Speaking of Kenny Florian, I'm glad you brought him up.
Here we go.
What'd he go from? 155 to 145 to 135?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he can't win.
Yeah.
So here's my thing.
But the problem is that, but the problem is Frankie Edgar
he took a shot at. Ooh, we thought. Did you think Kenny Florian could win at 145?
I don't know. I didn't think he could beat him. No, I just think Frankie Edgar's a better fighter.
Do you think Frankie Edgar could beat Kenny Florian?
Yep.
At pick a weight class. 155, 45.
He's beat everybody.
Could he beat him at 35?
I don't know, maybe 25.
So it'll be interesting when you're dealing with these I say smaller because of their weight fighters.
Right.
It looks like they have more wiggle room.
Yeah.
Somehow they're able to cut the weight that the bigger guys aren't, which I find amazing. I do. A guy like Rampage and who was the guy who really just destroyed? Oh, Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Right.
I mean, those guys. But these little guys are sucking from 155 down to like 130.
Anthony Rumble Johnson just lost his mind. He got all jacked up, man. I want to see him pissing the fuck up. Because, I mean, he was 170. He made 170, and all of a sudden he was like, what?
You know, what have I been saying about Strikeforce?
What?
That some of these UFC fighters, John Fitch, blah, 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 should go. Did you see who the latest signing is?
Who?
Nate Marquardt.
Yeah, at Strikeforce?
Yeah.
They were talking about that for a while. Well,
John Fitch is next.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah,
is there anything else we can argue about before we turn this off?
Let's see. Nah. No? I don't think so. What do you think? Cupcakes?
Ooh, can't argue about those.
Basketball?
Dude, that'd make for a good video.
We can save that for another cupcakes. George and I can find anything to argue about. We're fucking awesome at it.
Have a nice night.
Later.